Hello, welcome to another episode of What We Are Watching. It's Liz.
Hi, Liz. It's Catherine over here.
And Ed's also here. Big surprise.
And John.
Yay!
So the OG4 are here. Fabulous.
You know, for our fans.
Yeah. Gosh. All right, who would like to kick off this week of what you were watching?
Well, I don't want to leave our viewers hanging on the edge of their seats. Because
last week I
teased. Well, they could still be looking at the graphic that we post and just staring at it.
They probably have eyes.
I mean, they are looking at something.
And potentially they could be looking at our other podcasts logos that have our faces on them so that they could
I'm sorry
see.
I interrupted. Go on.
Gee whiz. Although... perfect example of family stuff that goes on, because the show I'm getting back to, which I teased, is the Righteous Gemstones. So last week I had the whole season had finished for Euphoria. We got to talk about that a little bit, and family dramas are hard, and family sitcoms are apparently just as hard, because this season of the Righteous Gemstones, they went for it. I mean, it's a sitcom, and you have to kind of watch it in that mindset.
Dark comedy.
But it's very dark as far as the comedy.
Is it a sitcom? Like, is it half an hour? How long is it?
Yeah, I think they're short. I'm going to double check my
it's
notes.
2 seasons, right? This is the second season that just aired.
We just finished the second season. It's picked up for the third season. And from the first season, you're kind of on board with like, oh, okay, so we're going to let them get away with horrible things. We have to give it the sitcom level of, we're not going to keep
this is about, sorry to
accountable.
Cut you in, because this is on HBO, and it's the televangelist like family, right? So
it is about a televangelist family called the Gemstones.
And led by one of my favorite actors, John Goodman.
John Goodman.
And the creator of the show is his son.
Danny McBride. Danny McBride created the series.
Danny
He's
McBride.
Writing the episodes. He's a great performer in it, and, you know, I am a fan of a lot of things Danny McBride has done, and then there's stuff that he's done where I'm like, I don't want to watch Vice Principals. That seems like bad characters doing bad things isn't my vibe. I like a good character that like pays off something. Ooh, the Righteous Gemstones. Those are going to be good characters.
No. Why would you think that?
The first season I watched, I haven't started the second season yet, but I mean, there were so much going on.
It's very over the top characters. Doing very over the top things, and you know,
very adult.
I'm a big fan of Adam Devine. So
he's fantastic.
He plays Danny McBride's brother.
Danny McBride's the family Gemstones has some very interesting elements, and they don't utilize them a lot because there's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of big jokes that they're going for, and you know, big guffaws that they're trying to get out of the audience. But like, they're missing their mother. And that's the genesis of why we're in on this family, why they're still together and still doing it. That the dad character has so much other depth than this, you know, religious family and the front facing. He's got a lot of depth. The second season gives him a whole other world of depth that you don't really get in the first season. And in general, all three of the characters, you understand more about them this season. I'm not saying you like them anymore. I'm just saying you know more of their backstories from this season, like why their mother's being missing and their family, you know, situation still pulls on them, and why they're doing how they're doing the stuff that they're doing. Like the sister,
Judy.
Judy.
So is it 3 siblings? It's 3 siblings.
3 siblings.
Wait,
yeah.
did you watch this with John? Did you say that?
John and I watched this together.
That is true.
We watched season 1 because had you already watched season 1? You rewatched it with me?
No, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, we just heard about it, and we'll watch Danny McBride stuff, and John Goodman's great, and Adam Devine's great, so cool. We're in. There are other characters that are also fantastic. Like, I think John and I have laughed out loud at every hysterical antic that Tim Baltz is doing as BJ.
Oh my gosh,
he's so
his
good.
Sister, you know, became the fiance. He is such an outrageous character. It's really fun. I mean, in the second season, getting the, I mean, it's weird. It's not that it's a payoff, but it's just like, okay, this character is extremely weird. Oh, wait a minute. He loves to rollerblade so much, and he's going to use like ski poles to rollerblade. And he also wants, I'm not Mr. Fashion, so wearing a velvet suit with small shorts.
Short
Oh
suit.
my.
I think is slightly strange.
Because
So
I didn't know if he'd be part of the second season, so I'm excited because where the first season left off, it kind of looked like him and Judy were not going to work out.
There's some drama in that
Okay.
family, that's for sure.
yeah, I mean that's misleading because in the end it's like, yeah, this family is always fighting. That's not going to change anything.
It doesn't mean the end of something just because they're fighting.
I loved, and I'm assuming he's back. It was Billy Freeman, who's the mother's
Baby
brother.
Baby Billy.
Yeah, Baby Billy.
Billy's so good.
Played by
Baby Billy with
Walton.
white hair.
No, his teeth that are naturally
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, which are an asset in every role he plays. But as a televangelist, like it's spot on. Like I'm so excited. So he's back second season.
I gotta say,
Cannot wait.
Usually plays like a nasty, mean side character. Not even the main bad guy, like the bad guy's bad guy. You're like, what's he gonna do? He's got a gun. He's gonna kill the main character, and then he usually gets kicked in the teeth or something terrible. It's really, really enjoyable to watch him play such a clean, beautiful looking character and just as bad a person on the inside as all the other guys he's been cast as. He's great.
And I mean, season 2 really, it's interesting the journey he has on season 1 versus season 2. Because season 1, you're getting to know everybody, and
Right.
he was such. It's all this history that you're barely getting of like, well, him and Amy Lee, his sister, were this traveling, hit country Christian singing duo, and then
That you hit all the right parts of that, by the way.
Yeah,
It
and
was all
then-
those things.
And then the husband, John Goodman, took her away, Amy Lee. But then in second season, so that's like mainly the first season kind of what you're dealing with. And then second season, you get a totally different journey with Walton and Baby Billy. And it's
I can't
kind of
wait.
incredible. You get an incredible, not to ruin it, because it's played so low key, it's outrageous, you're unsure. But the, cameo, stunt cast, whatever, of Macaulay Culkin comes into play.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
I have notes per episode, and I think the notes for that episode was love the Macaulay cameo. I'm in. That's fantastic.
He was just recently on Dollface.
Okay, I'm like so
He's working
irritated.
again.
It's so great to see him on Dollface. That's now his not wife, but they have a kid together.
Oh, right.
Brenda
Brenda
Song.
Song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, this was one of the shows I did watch, couple watching, that I watched with my husband first season. And I don't know what happened. I came in and it was like up on the queue, and it was like, that dude's like 3 or 4 episodes
Are
into
you
season
serious?
2.
Ooh,
That's
that's
grounds for no.
I will say this makes sense totally as a Mark show. Your husband. On the other hand,
When is he watching it? He's not watching it with me. You cannot watch it with a 15-year-old. It's totally inappropriate.
Okay, this is exactly the point I'm going to make. I had this realization as I was describing the show to somebody else. I was like, well, okay, the show's crazy. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I usually don't watch shows like this. Slightly different
True.
reason than Ed, but basically the same. And I realized, wait a minute. If this show was animated, if this was basically Family Guy, I would not watch it because I refuse to watch those types of shows. And yeah, those are Mark's favorite kind of shows. So this is just a live action of the stuff he does watch with your son.
Oh, for sure. Because they watch Family Guy, they watch The Simpsons, American Dad, Rick and Morty. They love all those shows. But this is
It is those shows that
No.
you're talking about are adult humor. They are like
Right, but no, you
really
can't
putting
watch
the
this.
jokes on tilt. They're like really challenging you to like whatever live action version of that. John and I are like, this is outstandingly
because the
ridiculous. This is
season one,
cartoonish.
the season 1 sort of whole dynamic of Adam Devine's character with Keith, Calvin and Keith.
Keith, his best friend, who I just looked up and found out.
Wow.
He played Dewey, the School of Rock, Jack Black character in the Nickelodeon. So not the famous
Oh,
Broadway, but
Got
in
it.
the TV show.
I did see that on Broadway.
But
It was
he's
awesome.
got Jack
He's
Black
had a career.
caliber level.
At which you can tell, because being Keith, he is outrageous. And I mean, in season 1, you get a version of his outrageousness, which is very fun. Season 2, you get a different whole journey with him.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, then I'm definitely
Okay,
in for
wait.
season 2.
Yeah, I want to ask about Gideon because I love that actor. He was on Santa Clarita Diet. He's
Skylar
delightful.
Gizondo, yeah, he's very fun. And he, not to spoil, but he continues to be a part of the show,
Okay,
as
good.
you might expect
He is
from
not
season
as
1.
challenging a part of the show all the grown-ups are the challenging parts this season. He is a little bit more on board getting his S together as far as, a kid and a 20-year-old or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay, he was trying that first season, really not finding his spot.
Yeah, in some ways. So season 1, he's a crucial part, whereas season 2, he doesn't get as much screen time.
But I always like the and this probably is happening in season 2 because I saw one scene I watched and caught Mark watching. Was
Evidence.
Who's going to basically take over the empire of the church?
Well, there's a whole part of season 2 is this parallel televangelist or Christian, mega church family led by this now son, Eric Andre, famous.
No.
Yes, Eric.
Oh
Andre
my
is
God.
great.
So as the son who's
Horrible
taken
and
over,
great.
and now couple friends with Danny McBride and the wife. So he's like, hey man, I took over from my dad. When are you going to take over from your dad? So that's a big piece of season 2.
Ooh, I can't wait. Okay, I did see listed, and maybe it's wrong because Google could betray me again, because all roads lead back to Rushmore. Is Jason Schwartzman in this?
He really is. You don't.
He's going to be paying off next season. I think he's going to be way more
sprinkling
involved.
of Schwartzman. Okay.
Ed is. I don't even know what to say about what I just said, but as Jason Schwartzman and Wes Anderson fans, you don't get enough Jason Schwartzman.
Well, as any sprinkling of Schwartzman,
I agree.
I'll deal with. All right. Well, I'm excited. You guys convince me now. Even though I was really irritated at my husband, I'll catch up with him. Okay.
You should enjoy it.
All right. Can't wait.
Nice. I will go next. I recently watched I Want You Back, the movie. It's on...
No one's interested in that, Catherine.
I'm like, what is that?
I watched it also. I really enjoyed it.
John.
It was so good. Okay, so
everybody's-
is it Amazon Prime? I think it's Amazon Prime.
Correct.
Okay. Amazon Prime. It's Jenny Slate and Charlie Day.
Oh, Charlie Day. I love Charlie Day.
From Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Jenny Slate, I really love. I mean, most people know her as John Ralphio's sister from Parks and Rec. And, she's done a bunch of other different interesting things. And I also listened to her book recently, which was very good. Anyway, it's a romantic comedy. And they basically, I want to say strangers on a train, like they both end up getting broken up with, is the very beginning of this movie. And then they sort of become friends and decide that they're going to try and sabotage the current relationships of their exes so that they will recognize that they should get back with them, which is a tiny bit convoluted now that I just said it out loud that way. But
It's, yes, as opposed to Strangers on a Train with murder, it's just getting back with your ex.
yes, it's getting back with your ex, not murder. So sorry if that was a bit confusing of a reference. But anyway, it's very fun. It also stars Scott Eastwood as Jenny Slate's boyfriend, who has just dumped her. He's very good. He's a trainer. It really is a perfect job by him as
It's interesting. He's playing into just like, well, I'm a very good looking guy and obviously I'm very fit. And that's it for me.
Yeah,
that's not it for Scott Eastwood, everybody.
No,
in this one.
In this one, he's playing up that stereotype very well. He's doing a great job.
You didn't even want to talk about nutrition.
And then Gina Rodriguez, who people probably know from Jane the Virgin, and I also saw her in a movie called Gajillionaire, which she was fantastic in. And then Manny Jacinto, who was on The Good Place. I mean, the core four.
Yes, of course.
The core 4/6.
I mean, before we move on from Manny, just for a moment, so he's playing an incredibly fun character in this movie. Also, so when you're watching it, I don't know if you had this thought of like, because I watched only a little bit of The Good Place. I was like, how freaking tall is this dude? He is 5'11", because in Good Place, he seems short. I'm apparently wrong.
Of course, he is next. He has got, a short person on one side, and then just everybody else is tall around him, even taller than him, 6 foot. I would imagine...
Kristen Bell, well-known tall person.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Well, in this,
but you're right. There's I think Jamila Jamil is tall, and Ted Danson. Ted Danson, very tall.
Yeah. So mainly his scenes are with Gina Rodriguez and Jenny Slate. So he also plays a middle school teacher. So it's all that
middle
whole story.
school drama teacher, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is one of my triggers. Anything
You
with
need to see it now.
yeah, because
I know.
anything
I
to
don't
do with
even
middle
want to
school
talk about
theater
that anymore.
or like an acting instructor with kids is one of my favorite things.
Which also, this is going to be real fun for you too, because they do a play, and again, you're like, you're telling me that these middle schoolers put this set together and this lighting and this it's pretty amazing.
That was the interesting thing. I want to come back to the set and lighting and whatever, but you get a fun moment with Jenny Slade who has to do
don't even say it. Don't even know.
I just want to say she does a great job.
She does an amazing job.
Look, it's acting, but I was totally not fooled, but taken in of the transition she does in this moment about acting that we're not going to ruin for Liz, but whatever. So coming back to the sets, it's such an interesting, because Manny Jacinto, his character is like, well, I used to do experimental theater in New York.
God, he's such a great
and now
kind of
he's this
douchey.
middle
It's so
school
great.
drama teacher. So you're like, and by the end of the play, it's like, okay, yeah, you guys really put more into this than maybe normally would have happened. And you're like, well, because he's from New York is a big deal. But yeah,
The
it was
setup
so
of
fun.
that is so great. I mean, honestly, between Jenny Slade, Charlie Day, Manny, and Gina Rodriguez, I mean, those four, the performances are great. And then the setup itself is really
Fun.
very cute and fun.
well,
And
back to Euphoria from last week. I mean, theater kids can rule the world. I mean, and this week
They really can
I'm not
put
going to
the
get
world on tilt.
and I'm not going to get into it, but I watched the Saturday Night Live with John Mulaney, and fabulous episode. And once again, theater kids can rule the world. They have to be scrappy. They got to make things happen. So,
so that's I Want You Back on Amazon Prime. It is very, very good. And, I mean, you miss a romantic comedy that we used to get. I don't
that's
know.
true. I
feel-
totally missed them. I never watched them.
Shut up, John. You're so cute.
that
Just
is
like,
your vertical, man.
And second of all, let me just quick point: Christmas movies are romantic comedies.
I mean, that's true. They're just in a genre of a Christmas
We're
movie.
going to have a full debate on that one.
Well, more appropriately, Christmas, Netflix, Hallmark. Those are romantic comedies.
yes.
Oh, so the only character I didn't call out that is part of the core storyline is Scott Eastwood's new girlfriend, Ginny, which, is funny because, of course, we have a Ginny in our family. But she's very good. Clark Bacco.
She's a pie maker. She's fantastic.
It's an incredibly well cast, very cute writing, visually very good.
They didn't fully make it clear, which was actually, I think this is why I became interested in Savannah, Georgia earlier this week.
Right.
Because it's set in Atlanta.
Oh my God, that is so funny. Earlier today, John was telling me about this, I had to look up something from Savannah, Georgia, and I was like, that rat bastard, did he watch I Want You Back?
I know.
Because they have
They do.
Savannah, Georgia does prominently feature at a certain point.
Only at the end, though, or not to ruin, but it's normally set in Atlanta, which they don't really talk about, I feel.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what city until they did the Savannah thing, and I was like, oh, wait, sorry.
Well,
for those of you who don't know, we are all
in
talking
case
about
anyone
this.
hasn't been able to see both John and Catherine eyeballing me as every time
We're
they said
all
Savannah,
looking at Ed.
It's because I went to school in Savannah, Georgia. So
And
they're
we
like,
all went there to visit him, yeah.
You know, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
Well, now you will. But
exactly.
the important point is, right, you don't realize it's set in Atlanta. Unfortunately, I don't recognize their skyline that well yet. I'm getting there since so many movies are set there.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they do this flight to Savannah, which I know, having had my brother Ed go to Savannah, it's like, well, that direct flight to Savannah is not exactly a thing. You're also not talking about we flew 6 hours from LA. It's like, where did you fly from to Savannah?
John,
I don't understand.
You are incorrect. The Savannah International Airport has direct flights.
International?
Yeah, I know, but also
All right.
you can call yourself international as long as there's one plane that
One plane
drops off
going
at your spot
Canada.
from someplace else, right?
It probably goes to the Bahamas.
I'm not sure, and
yeah.
it probably is something a lot closer, like smaller planes, something like that, not international, like across, to Europe or whatever. But the Savannah College of Art and Design had a lot of international students as well, so it would make sense that
that
they would
makes sense.
actually start to have some flights land there.
I feel I remember some planes, trains, and automobiles happening. So
On the cheap route, I was doing an entirely different thing. I was taking Greyhounds to Jacksonville, which was the hub for TWA. Oh my God, I don't want to get into it. Yeah, there's a lot of planes, trains, and automobiles.
right.
And then also, this is this is literally last century, if you want to age me
That's not
properly.
true, but
it's
thanks.
true. I brought my desktop computer and my entire CD collection with me to college if I wanted to listen to music for the month off that I was coming home for, or summer. I had 2 50-pound suitcases to drag with me. I missed a bus. There's more stories to that, but whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of planes, trains, automobiles, disasters.
Transportation in this family is a whole
your 20s
topic
is
we'll
tough,
do.
man.
Yeah, we got to do on our other Family Dynamics podcast because
it's just the cars and
transportation
trying to
challenge. All right, so I Want You Back.
I Want You Back.
Must watch.
It's
all right.
incredibly good. Okay, I did also want to talk about.
Do you feel like there will be a sequel called I Got You Back?
Oh, yeah, sure, maybe.
All right. I just don't know if there's a sequel in the mix. If it's written, did they get together? Don't ruin it. Never mind.
Well, I will say it is a romantic comedy, so you figure it out from there.
Somebody ends up with somebody.
Somebody. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, I was going to talk about some other stuff, but now that we've spent so much time on I Want You Back, maybe I'll save it for savoring for later.
John, why don't you go?
Okay, fine. Well, here's the deal. Similar to Ed, as shockingly as always, I'm going to do a callback to the last episode. This was my plan already because I'd already rewatched This Is 40, and you guys tried to ruin it for me. First of all, fantastic.
We mentioned that the last episode. Yes.
That's hilarious.
And you guys tried to ruin all
John's like,
aspects
I gotta sit
of
on
it.
this for a freaking week. You better shut up. You better not
How
ruin
did
it.
you
Don't
even-
say any of the
why
details.
Why? What's okay?
It's
Sorry, go
fantastic.
ahead. Well, yes, of course, but
Well, go ahead.
I mean, it could have been. It could have been like me, at home. I'm just surfing channels like it's the '90s, as my daughter likes to say, and make fun of me. And then I just stumble into a movie, and then I just end up watching it right then and there.
No. Here's the deal. If you're going to track all you're watching, you start to get real like, well, I don't want to start something because then I have to write it down and then I'm going to have to come back and watch the rest of it. And I'm not going to do that. So,
Or you can decide to completely throw away this watch session. Like, yeah, I watched Stargate. I'm not talking to you guys about that movie. I didn't write that down.
Oh my God, I actually could watch Stargate anytime.
I thought better
wouldn't?
and
It's
totally wrote
fantastic.
it down because I could talk about it. So.
Okay, This Is 40. How did this happen?
because I'm not young, and so I had to watch a movie about that was going to make me sad that I'm getting old, right? That's helpful. Because I can totally relate to, parents with homes and businesses and 2 children. Easy to relate.
Yeah, that's this time period we're living
And this
in.
is directed and written by Judd Apatow, correct?
Yeah, and it's
okay.
funny. You watching it, you're seeing all these. He has so many people, and obviously Paul Rudd. That's really his biggest part in a Judd Apatow movie. Obviously, he has a big piece in 40-Year-Old Virgin, but he's obviously not
He's
the
a
star.
lead, yeah.
Yeah, so this is his lead Judd Apatow movie, which is super fun.
Well, was it supposed to be a spin-off of...
Well, it's a spinoff is an interesting word, right? Because here's the problem is he's got Judd Apatow's wife, Leslie Mann, is going to play the wife in this movie. And then his real life kids, Maud and Iris, are going to play the real life kids in the movie. So, he'd already done this and Knocked Up with Paul Rudd as himself, husband, not himself, we don't know. And then now they're going to do it. The same family occurs again in this movie. This is 40. So
spin-off, but not really, of Knocked Up.
Whoa, wait a minute. In Knocked Up the movie,
How are you
I
alive?
knew she didn't
What
know
is
that.
happening?
I knew she didn't know.
I have seen both movies. I honestly don't know if I made that connection.
Liz,
Leslie
you're
Mann
not
and-
aware of
wait.
the JAU, the Judd Apatow universe?
Yes, I am, but I did not make that connection. Leslie Mann and Paul Rudd with Maud and Iris are a family in...
Yes, that is the house where Katherine Heigl is staying in the guest house. Well, not the house, but that is
What?
I don't know if it's the house, Nancy Myers, take it easy. But it is the family where Katherine Heigl is staying in the guest house. And then so Seth Rogen is going in and out and relating to Paul Rudd, and he's like, what's your deal? Who are you?
Mind blown.
Listen,
Yeah.
I
need to go back and watch it now.
I'm the kind of person that if I were involved in this conceit when it was being made, I'd have made sure that Katherine Heigl was on TV in character doing
As
her
E?
as E in the background somewhere just to make sure we knew.
She's still in the guest house.
Exactly.
She really should have. And there's a whole issue. This is 40 is very fun because the business is not going well, and one of Chris O'Dowd and Lena Dunham are constantly talking about how they can't get press for Graham Parker, who is
New album.
it's a hilarious thing. So they can't get press. What they should have done at some point was show
Try and
Katherine
get her.
Heigl.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Like,
that
can
would've
you
been
get him
amazing.
on? No. I'm on E! News, the current stuff, not the old stuff.
The cameos,
VH1.
yeah, the cameos in it are amazing. Albert Brooks as the father.
Oh, he is so
with
good.
the triplets. I could watch that one scene.
We're gonna play
Don't
murder.
drown in the pool or whatever. It's like it's
And then you cut to they're outside. They are in the pool.
Yeah.
So they did not. They totally ignored him. Well, that's the 11 o'clock from London.
No.
Drop something valuable.
the airplane over his head. It's so great. Melissa McCarthy, her role.
Now, first of all, you like to talk about how she might do too much improv. Having watched it again, so we've both just watched it again.
Right.
What's the verdict?
There is a scene that I think they let her rip. And there are moments you're like, well, you would be kicked out of the school. There is no way.
Well, here's the deal.
So-
Lisa has a horrendous haircut. Okay, that principal has a bad bob. So
Yeah.
no one's kicking anybody out.
Get her.
No, just but now be honest. Are you not getting confused? Because then in the credits they show that scene again where you see
She
Leslie
goes
and
too
Paul.
far, and they cut those.
They just let her keep going. Leslie and Paul are like laughing, and they're just like, maybe we're gonna use a moment of. I don't know why they're even still taping. I guess that's the Judd way, but like. So you're not getting confused?
No.
Okay. I feel like in
What's
the movie,
actually in it is pretty out of control.
it is, but
It's still
works for
enjoyable.
me.
Yeah, it's still enjoyable. I mean, for sure.
I will say they do. I mean, criticize
that. Sorry to interject. That level that she gets to, 100% works in Bridesmaids in the bathroom. That entire
yes, of
sequence
course,
is
yeah.
like, yes, go for it. But then you're in a team environment when you're like kind of up against these parents who
Right.
aren't outrageous.
I love Megan Fox in it and John Lithgow.
You forget how rewatching it. It's like, oh, Megan Fox, couple scenes, whatever. Yeah, she's playing the incredibly hot woman. Great. She's actually like a driving force of a B storyline,
Yes.
and she's in it a lot.
She's great. But the Jason Segel and Chris O'Dowd.
Bodies by Jason,
But just
Bodies by Barry.
when they're
sorry.
both trying to get Megan Fox.
That whole like the swimming scene in the pool is like almost grotesque. The two of them like trying to get
so
her attention.
ridiculous.
Oh my god!
It's I mean that's
Their signs. Oh yeah, the signs.
Oh no! No!
Okay, well I have two call outs in terms of like
Tell me now.
other casting. Wyatt Russell, who as
I was just gonna say because Megan Fox is the hockey players, and then you get an early Wyatt Russell, which is so fun because
and
he actually did play hockey.
that was his thing.
Eventually in Goon 2, but yeah, so fun as a hockey player.
Yeah, love him. We're big fans of Lodge 49, which is
Why'd you have to do it? Lodge 49 were the best shows of all time.
well, ironically, we mentioned in the last episode one of my 2 seasons and then canceled.
Minute. Wyatt Russell is Kurt Russell's son?
Yeah, and Goldie Hawn. Yeah.
Half brother to Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson. Yes, indeed.
Mind blown again.
Wow, this is a fun, mind-blowing thing for you, Liz. Okay, and the other call out casting wise is Charlene Yee. She is the greatest. I just love every
She plays a sales girl. Her and Megan Fox work in Leslie Mann's store. Yeah.
Why are you talking
Which
to me?
don't you feel like that store was I felt like it had such a Brentwood vibe, but at the same time might have been right in Toluca Lake, right in that little.
Well, that's the whole movie is strangely odd because you are recognizing San Vicente so frequently.
Oh,
You're
if you
like,
live in
this
Los Angeles, yes.
yeah,
This is Brentwood, Santa Monica all the time. You're like, that's San Vicente. Where he's biking and the huge street is always San Vicente. So it's interesting. You're like, okay, is it Montana or is it actually Ventura, like in Knocked Up? So it's hard to tell.
And it also is maybe not geographically precisely accurate, which,
That's definitely not true.
I will say, if not necessarily in your 20s will you relate to this a lot, 30s maybe, but if you are facing 40 or into your 40s, a lot of it rings true. If you are married, if you have kids, there's elements of it. Very fun.
There's technically
just the Speedo pants that he's wearing when he's trying to get in shape riding his bike. Like that may be the only scene that I remember because I'm like, it's hard, man. I can't go work out in regular shorts. I gotta like get it together so I don't get a rash.
Well, no, that's just he's a serious recreational amateur bicyclist. That's just what they wear, man. And their clicky shoes.
And their clickety-click shoes.
I do love that because it feels so real because you feel like, unfortunately, I'm not, I'm not a bicyclist, but you see these guys at a Starbucks or whatever, or men and women, and you're like, okay, are you stopping? I don't understand. Why are you meeting
Are
here?
you training for something?
And you're hanging out here for so long. So how is this? You did a workout to get here, but now you're taking an hour break to have coffee and a muffin.
I mean, you're gonna shit on the way home.
Exactly.
This is gonna happen.
They do that in the movie, and it's so enjoyable to like. Yes, that's what these people do. They take this break and they're in their clicky shoes in the Starbucks.
That is our brother-in-law Brian. He just gets to get the hell out of the house. I
Yes,
get it.
indeed.
There you go. But actually, the way throwback to I think it was last week when we talked about Euphoria. This is where Maud Apatow. This is her story arc. The
fucking Wi-Fi. Fucking Wi-Fi when they go to turn on. Yeah, it's
and then when they're watching, she's like totally crying about what happened.
Wait, didn't she have a big reaction to the ending? Wasn't she
like? Yes, I'm just crying.
Yeah,
like
she's crying. She was losing it. They're about to have their party, and he comes in, and she's like, I just watched the last 2 episodes. Well, she's like, okay, well, get it together because we're gonna. And it feels like not as a parent, but I feel like as a parent, you guys must relate to like. I don't know what you child are doing, but we got to go somewhere now. So you're gonna have to like
that happens
change
a lot.
gears.
Yeah,
Yes.
like pull it together. Sorry. The train is going.
And I will say this is 40 is one of those movies that if I'm flipping channels, it will make me stop almost every time because there are certain scenes I just really do love that I will just stop and watch it again.
It's a gem.
We're just like, am I just hot? Is it hot in here? Am I burning up?
Oh, what scene is that where she gets all hot?
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but
That's a great scene.
Is it This is 40 that's coming in hot?
there's a
that's a different one.
No, there's a lot of levels. Oh my god.
Sorry, Leslie, man, I got the wrong movie on that one.
I will say I was looking. I wanted to look up a different person. I was like, oh, who is that actor or whatever, and ended up finding out. I don't know if you can even really truly see. But so at one point they're watching security cam footage and they're watching, Desi, Megan Fox's character, hooking up in the store, and they're like, what is even happening? The person she's hooking up with,
Who?
supposedly Bill Hader.
What?
I mean, can you ever believe it?
That might
don't believe that
might be like
actually.
Hollywood lore. We need proof on that one.
I hear you, proof of life. I mean, he's wearing a hat, if I remember correctly, and you don't really see his face ever, so...
I mean, if you're Bill Hader, you're like, sure. Megan Fox, like, sure.
Well, I mean, that's super early for Bill Hader, so yeah.
Really?
Any part in the I would think.
That needs to be proven.
Yeah, we need confirmation on that.
Well, I can do that easily.
Let's just call Bill Hader and see what he says about it.
Sure.
That is a really big cast to basically keep track of. That was a huge cast.
It's like, of the Judd Apatow, collections of actors that play frequently together. This was a fun one of like the kind of more adult side. Okay, Paul Rudd, Melissa McCarthy, okay, this is a fun Chris O'Dowd. You get a lot of
John Lithgow, like I'll keep going back to him.
Yeah, you get a
the
lot
Albert Brooks and Jason Segel. That was there's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm saying you get a lot of his people that are in his other movies, but then you also get a lot of new blood, which is super fun.
Yep, and Billy Joel Armstrong does a cameo in it too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, unfortunately.
Wait, who's that?
From Green Day. So when Graham Parker does his concert at the end.
Oh, that's right. I remember that storyline now, yes.
And Chris O'Dowd even does like a shout to him, like that he's mad at him. And so Billy Joe turns around and is like, fuck you, and like knows his name. And you're like, oh God, this is weird.
Loved it. I have to give a shout out to one other actor who I love from Grace and Frankie. I think he steals like every scene he's in, is Tim Bagley. So Dr. Pellegrino,
Oh, yes.
I think he's like an OBGYN or he's a gynecologist or something.
He is a gynecologist. He can count the rings.
Oh God, that's right.
You're tensing up.
Oh,
geez,
it's so good.
even.
It's so good. He's
Sorry.
so great in it. So nobody doesn't sort of steal the scenes they're in, basically, right? Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he is telling her that she's pregnant.
Wait, we're not going to...
Okay, it's from 2012, so take it easy.
Well, Liz was so careful earlier to be like, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Oh, she's
Okay,
pregnant.
well.
Okay.
Oh, okay, well, I forgot about what she said, but I feel like it's a fantastic scene, so I had to tell you.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that's what I was gonna call out the kid that she yells at school because she's all
small
emotional.
Tom Petty.
who actually acts quite a bit. You might remember him also from Super 8. Those are his two fantastic years, right?
Good
there.
for him.
Ryan Lee. Let's give you a shout out. Ryan Lee.
This is not important, but apparently I have to say it. So the other cameo, or not, it wasn't a cameo, but the other person I had to look up is Wendy, the bad friend, whose mom lets her do whatever she wants. Ava Sambora.
Oh,
Yep. So
nice.
Heather Locklear and Richie Sambora's daughter.
Oh, whoa.
Well, it says on here Ava Locklear, so yeah, I wonder what name she goes under.
I don't know, but that's who she is.
That is amazing.
Oh, I like. Good for her. God, there really was a lot.
The
I
bad
mean,
friend.
We didn't even cover everybody. Michael Ian Black, Robert Smigel. I mean, it's kind of endless.
It is crazy.
I did figure out Coming In Hot came from a different movie that Leslie Mann was in. It came from...
Oh, I know it. Is it The Change Up?
The Change Up.
Yeah,
You
I
got
just
it,
watched
John.
that like a month ago.
Although for my purposes, the grown-up adult married in a house vibes.
Very
that
similar.
hits the same, this is 40s, and they're the same family from Knocked Up.
I will say the other crossover that should be true but isn't is Funny People. So a couple years earlier, Leslie Mann and the two daughters are again in a Judd Apatow movie. But then we have Eric Bana playing the husband.
Okay, if you had said Paul Rudd again, I don't know if I could handle it.
Here's the problem. It should have been Paul Rudd. Look, Eric Bana does a fantastic job.
I love
enjoy
Eric
it,
Bana,
but I
yeah.
just wish it was all the same and it was Paul Rudd.
I have to go back and look at Knocked Up because that blew my mind.
Well, that was all for you. Now I think it might be someone else's turn.
Wow. Oh, I think
it's just you, Liz.
I think I'm left. So I am gonna do. I know we do a lot of like Hulu, Netflix, even traditional network television and streaming.
movies. Yep.
But I'm gonna go PBS on your asses.
Oh,
okay?
PBS is getting some love. Go for it.
So during COVID, one of my favorite shows of all time, Antique Roadshow, had to do.
Eric and Sarah are totally into it. Husband and daughter.
Is it
definitely
pool
won.
money?
I mean, that is our.
Is it pool? Yeah. Well,
That's what
okay.
we
Wait.
always say. We're like, okay, what's it going to be? How much is it?
That's not life changing to sell it.
Yeah.
It
It has to be at least pool money for us to be impressed.
Yeah, when you start to hit about 100,000, I'm like, sell it,
Yeah.
because God forbid your cat knocks it over because it's been in the corner of your entry hallway for the last 20 years.
Oh, that candy dish?
Yeah.
You
Bye.
need to sell that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are in season 26.
Wow.
And they had to take it outside, and they did they did a unique, I almost feel like it was a capsule. Like, I wonder if it really qualified as Antique Roadshow, where they went to celebrity or well-known people's homes and looked at and gave
that's
evaluations. Yeah, some of it was like, this is barely worth anything. I mean, it's like, I always go like, I want a big money drop at the end. I want something that's going to really shock the shit out of people. So
I'm
they're
always so impressed with the historical.
Oh, I love all that.
The experts that they get, they freaking know shit. It is amazing.
Oh, the experts are insane.
Well, and then didn't they do another special? It was like a second one. They'd done one already, and then they just did another one like last year that was coming back to some of their most amazing pieces that ever came up.
Oh yeah, they did an overview of the biggest
Right.
ones.
And then they would give history of what happened. Like, did it get auctioned off? Because, one of the rules is they're not allowed to then say like, oh, and if you'd like to sell it, I'll represent you.
Yeah, it was very interesting because it was a little bit inside baseball of what goes on with these experts, that they're actually not allowed to approach you about this item and talk to you about selling it or where they work or whatever.
It's not the pawn shop style version of the show where the guy is going to make an offer and buy it from you.
No.
But then interestingly enough, most of these people who have decided not to sell it or whatever, they only have one person they can think of to call, and it's that person from the Antique Roadshow. So a lot of those stories were really fascinating.
Well, we've had some of these appraisers on since, the whole 26 seasons. Other ones have come in and out. Some have even passed away. It's been pretty interesting.
Makes sense,
26
Yeah, it's a long run.
over 20 years for sure. And, because
I just remembered, sorry to interrupt, how it predominantly featured in Frasier. Like that Frasier and the dad, it was like they didn't realize that they were both fans of the same show.
Wait. And the biggest thing they don't always do, it's usually a re-airing or some repackaging when they go in and do the appraisal and then they show dun dun or boom, like they're going to show you it was gone up in value or down in value.
A recreation of that sound effect.
Well, we will pause it as a family and we're like, what do you think? Lost value?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we always like, who's going to...
It's kind of a game.
Like 90% correct. Mark is usually wrong for some reason because he's basing his logic on.
Okay, so you're usually right and he's always wrong. Got it.
Exactly. So now they've had to take it outside. And one of the biggest elements I really miss is when it was indoors, whatever, if you have to wear a mask or not, I still miss the reactions from people behind the appraisal.
Oh, I just like the people watching element of like all these weirdos
all of it.
milling about in the background doing
and
who knows what.
I
shouldn't say weirdos. It has nothing to, it just like there's so many variety of people just like in the back. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that's not an aspect that I really care about, but I do enjoy when you're seeing an episode from 20 years ago because you're like, that is the fashion from 20 years ago. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, and the appraisers themselves, like I said, you've really gotten to a point where you recognize them, you're fans of them, and then there are and their unique antiquities or what they are so knowledgeable on. It
is
crazy.
Impressive. It's amazing.
So they've been outdoors this last season in like various botanical gardens, and then they always got to do the history of the famous house or it was donated to the city of. And it seemed like they almost pre-produced, like maybe you had to submit what you were going to have on. Like it does not seem like it just was the open door. People,
Well, yeah, because that was a ton of people would just show up at these big venues wherever they were holding it. It's like a giant indoor flea market. Not a good idea in COVID.
Right. But you also get for the appraisers why it was worth it because,
for sure,
a true treasure could walk in and they've got to see it in a way that how else would this ever happen? And, I got it at a garage sale, inherited from this. It's been in the family junk drawer. Like, it's just crazy. And it's just one of those, like, feel good, it a little historical. Usually you learn something.
Yeah, for sure.
It also is really taught me I don't think we have anything valuable in Mom's home.
So it's very sad to say. Very sad to say.
I mean, I gotta go through it again. But I mean, I really don't think in my
I don't know if paperback books are really
bum. I don't know.
The Reader's Digest collected works of.
Oh my gosh!
Condensed works and then collected.
Why are you even saying that? Because you're mad because we did get rid of some of them.
What?
Which I agree we shouldn't have, but we did.
I have repeatedly said paperback, adios amigos. Hardbacks, we got to talk about anything because those could be just good stunt things.
Look, condensed books. What is the value? It is not even the original book.
I don't know. Well, we just had a family garage sale, and believe me, Rosie and I was like, is there anything worthy of Antique Roadshow here? The thing that people like first 6 a.m. sun up, Legos. Which I've never seen an Antique Roadshow, so
I don't think that's an Antique Roadshow thing.
And then Kirk, our brother-in-law, was, I guess, for the last, from house to house, because they flip houses, so he has carried 2 bins that were, I think, his grandmother or his aunt's collection of Reader's Digest from going back like 50 or 60 years, thinking they had some value. So he finally was willing to sell them at this garage sale. I mean, he did think it was going to be like an Antique Roadshow. He did think he was selling. I mean, we couldn't give these things away, honest to God. So it's like, it's a very...
But that's also the lesson of Antique Roadshow.
Oh.
You have to, get the actual person who knows about that market of that thing. Otherwise, forget it.
They had one on a Rolex watch that was probably one of the highest appraised items they ever had. I won't spoil for how much it came out, but he was a veteran. He bought it overseas.
I think I saw that episode.
Incredible.
A clip of that.
Well, or was that Extraordinary Finds? Because I did see that one with you
Both.
also.
I think they pulled it out and did Extraordinary Finds. Like I said, they repackaged some of their segments.
Which was smart because that's like I like both versions. I like all the highlights, but I also like the game show quality of is this going to be worth anything? Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
and
not?
like I said, they did one with sort of well-known, talent celebrities. It was very fascinating what they collected, who they were, and what some of the valuable pieces were.
I feel like Antique Roadshow is riding the fine line between is this valuable or did you just find out you're a hoarder?
Yeah.
You're a hoarder. You have 1,000
might
Reader's
be a
Digest
hoarder.
that absolutely no one wants. You're going to need to recycle.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I don't know if it encourages or not. I'm not really sure. But it is enjoyable in the sense of it just can check your mind out and you just are on a journey to learn about artifacts and posters and ceramics and rugs. Folk art, I am not into. You also realize your taste level. You're like, anything to do. It's interesting, Civil War and guns and like the swords and all that. You're like, holy crap. I mean, that's a whole world. And
Well,
there's
it's the
one
whole-
guy that does all the appraisals.
If it's a collectible, I mean, all of a sudden, some area of like anything to do with baseball. Okay,
like I said, there's an element I'm like, I don't know that mom has anything in her house of value. I mean,
Incorrect.
And I mean, then there's
Well, we did speculate recently that crazy old doll Susie.
has no value other
Let's
than
not
freaking us
talk
out.
about it.
I will say one of my favorite appraisers, I'm just giving him a shout out. He does posters, and they're really cool sort of graphic art posters. And Nicholas Laurie is his name. He has like almost like a handlebar mustache, and he wears these amazing plaid suits.
Oh,
He's just
got a
fabulous.
whole look.
I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, I
Are
also
the posters like event posters versus not like movie posters? More
it
like
can be both, but if the movie posters are way like
they have to be
a
a
Frankenstein, like yes.
specifically like very large format, very hard to find. This it was in bus
Yeah.
stops. It's printed on both sides, and there are 4 of them in the planet now.
He seems to know a wide breadth of knowledge. So, I mean, I could go on and on about the appraisers, but they're all so talented, and I just love them. And like I said, it's been one of those things that's like a nice little reprieve the last 2 years. They're like, oh, okay, they're still doing antique roadshows, even though they may look a little different. I hope they go back to the format because, like I said, the background players, the people walking around the background just alone, some of their shocked reactions or their cluelessness, like, oh, I'm in the shot? What? Oh, what? Like, is so good. So the other show on PB...
Well, just
what?
one thing I have to say
Yeah.
about Antiques Roadshow. Did you realize this is a spin-off? So it started in 1997, but the original from England started in 1979.
Wow.
They are on their 44th season.
That's crazy.
Yes, I knew I have watched the one from the UK, but what's interesting about that is they do tons of their episodes outdoors and in famous gardens and
Well, I feel like isn't that similar to the Great British Bake Off?
Yeah, it's just like in a tent on
Oh,
it's like we're
this-
at this huge estate. Why aren't you guys inside? Oh,
no, this is how we do it. This is a Bake Off. It's outside. What? Okay.
you can never talk disparaging about the British Bake Off show.
No, I'm saying that it highlights for the American audience, things we don't know about
Yes.
the UK.
Well, yeah, and also like production can be very different just because it's a different country. So they're like, we're gonna do it this way.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What?
They will use the
Jeez.
grounds and the castles as almost like background, and they'll do it outside. And like I said, that's
Ooh,
kind
is
of what
there
they did
then
this year.
Substantially less background characters to watch in that.
Yes, I hate it.
Ooh, there's a castle, and I'm done looking at the background.
Yeah, and
Well, that's what she's saying. She wants to get back to the old style where there's
Also,
just
'cause I
tons of
think-
people milling about.
a lot more people milling about, but I also think in the old format, a lot more antiques or / junk came in. And so this just seems very produced what's happening now, where it's almost like pre-screened or pre-produced, because it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of
Well,
people
there
there.
has to be some pre-screening because otherwise they don't have all these experts on hand. I
Yes,
think
they do.
they do just like
Yes.
standing around.
Yes, at tables, because it's worth it to them too. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's a weird. That's why it makes sense that so many people show up because they also have so many experts there, and they're there. They do that because so many people do show up. I don't
Just
know.
in this
A
random
couple- yes,
category,
because
somebody happens to be there. It's
Yes, because
crazy.
quite a few years ago, they started to do little quick outtakes where you would see someone standing at a table and the appraisal would be all of like 30 seconds at the book table, at the, ceramics table.
Well, and I think that's always been a part of it. It just wasn't something they usually showed.
Right.
It's like the pre-screening. Like that's the first line you go into.
I mean, in baseball cards, now I'm obsessed because they've taken off during COVID. But I even think our cousin Kathleen's husband at one point dealt in sports memorabilia. But that's a huge category too on Antique Roadshow. So
I wonder if you're the guy that's the the Revolutionary War expert, and no one shows up to that convention that day. You're like, man, I've been sitting here all day. I didn't even get on camera.
I do think you could opt out. You probably don't have to go to every single one. It's up to you. So if you know in certain regions, you're much more likely to find the antiquities. Like he might not necessarily come to California. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, there might not be as many.
Or maybe there won't be like 4 of those people. There's only one.
But love it, Antique Roadshow on PBS. The other PBS show I wanted to bring up real quickly, which I highly recommend because I think season 8 just started, is Finding Your Roots. Now, I don't know if you guys watch this. It's with Henry Louis Gates. I think it's Jr., Henry Louis Gates Jr. He usually takes on two well-known people. I always think it's been a person of note of some level. And it's not necessarily someone in television or film. It can be in different aspects, whether it be a writer or a scientist or someone of note.
But someone that you would know.
Yeah, or they'll give you background. And he will kind of do the very extensive with his team background investigation to help them find out about their roots. And usually it goes along one maternal or paternal path because there's just more information. Mm-hmm. And it's so fascinating. And really, it can be both heartbreaking and, because, America's history is not without its conflicts and issues and tragedies, right? And
huge things come up.
And how did your forefathers or your past generations get here, and why did they come here, and what happened to them? So it is just totally fascinating. And usually then he connects the dots, with you are a relative of, or you share DNA with, or you are a 10th cousin removed of. They're blown away. It's like the last thing they do. He's great. His research team, I can't even imagine. Last season, there was one with Mandy Patinkin that was just fascinating because he actually didn't really know what happened. I mean, the Holocaust is very interesting because you could have relatives that their history is gone. You just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And so they're able to go outside of the United States and track back, to Europe and other areas in Africa. And he'll usually do you are this much, or you are. We have a friend that just did his DNA, and his mother swore he was going to be Ashkenazi Jew, and it turns out he's basically Italian. So that your family history can be like corrected or taken a different direction.
Well, it's so interesting because typically you rely on oral history, what people have told you about your family and whatever, but then to go back and look at real documents and DNA.
Oh, and real documents. I mean, his research team is just incredible, and they'll put people Broadway stars together, or two comedians, or two writers.
In terms of the two people in each episode. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then try to, parallel their path. But like I said, it usually goes on, Lena Waithe is part of the season. I'm really excited to see her.
I love her
We
so
did
much.
a podcast with her, the podcast we do with Ask Jillian Barbary. So, and she's such a cool chick that I'm really looking forward to her episode. So that's on PBS as well. And it's called Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr. Highly recommend it. It teaches you, really, it's another way.
It's a history lesson.
They're both history lessons. Listen, we were born and raised on PBS from our father, Frank.
Basically anything that was on PBS we were allowed to watch.
Even if it was highly inappropriate. For some reason, PBS, that was carte blanche. Which, I, Claudius, as a 10-year-old,
Not a
maybe
good
not,
idea.
but okay. But so I've always support PBS, love it. I mean, Downton Abbey, that's where it started.
Oh, yeah,
man.
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Did I get it right, John?
Well, I mean, I don't know the exact history.
Well, for Here in America.
For Here in America,
yes, I agree. No, it's a BBC show, correct. But for Here in America, our exposure was PBS.
Unfortunately, Downton was not on the BBC. It was on ITV.
Oh, it's on ITV. So I love PBS. There's so many shows on there, but that's what I focused on this week. Was Antique Roadshow 26th season. They got creative during COVID, so God bless them. They kept the machine going. And Finding Your Roots season 8.
Wow, great. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Liz, we just got your two, so I'm going to just remind people that I did I Want You Back, which apparently John also watched.
You and John did it
Yeah,
together.
I know.
I'm going to watch that.
Now Liz and I got to watch it. And
Yeah.
We'll be back next week to talk about it then.
No, but I want to watch it.
And then I talked about the Righteous Gemstones, as promised. No teases and no spoilers. Also,
Good job.
no shirts. Oh, that is a spoiler.
Oh.
And I talked about This Is 40, a movie from 10 years ago.
Which,
At this
amazing,
moment.
yeah.
It's currently on HBO. It'll probably be somewhere else by the time you listen.
But Maud Apatow's having a moment, and that was a movie by her father. So there you go.
All right, so that's it for this episode. And definitely subscribe and leave your review. 5 stars, please. And that's
Comment. Like, we'd like to know what you think of these shows or have recommendations for us to watch.
You can do that on our social media. Our handle is Podcast Watching. Patreon, did we mention Patreon? And Patreon.
Subscribe to our Patreon, definitely.
Okay.
It's great.
All right. Thank you for listening to
What We Are Watching.